everyone. Welcome back to the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. I'm your host, Erica, and today we are diving into another episode, Getting Fit with 5 Kids with Rachel. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Today, we don't have any trigger warnings on this episode. So let's dive in and talk about getting fit with 5 kids. Hi, Rachel.
Hey, Erica, how are you?
I'm doing good. And yourself?
I'm good. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you for being here and taking the time out to join this episode this afternoon. So, I want to start off with getting into a little bit of your backstory, where you're from, and how did you start getting fit with 5 kids?
So I'll try and keep it relatively short. I've been a dietitian for probably, I think it's 14 or 15 years now. That went really, really fast. So I initially started out as a dietitian working in a hospital, and then I ended up working in a bariatric clinic, which is, we did like weight loss surgery.
Mm-hmm.
For patients. So I was very, very steeped in weight loss. And after I had my third kid, I realized that I was essentially paying to go to work with childcare costs. And so I transitioned home to stay at home with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of kids later, I was, one kid later, and then I was pregnant with number 5 during COVID. So we went into lockdown. And I found out that I was surprise pregnant with number 5. And let's just say I was freaking out a little bit.
Bad. What was that like? I know COVID was such a downtime for all of us. I've worked from home for since 2018 when my daughter was my daughter was born in 2018, so about 2017 when COVID happened. So I get a little bit of like everything was shut down and everybody was in a panic during that time. Thankfully, we all made it out of that panic. Hopefully there is never going to be another pandemic like that. Fingers crossed. So I understand. I couldn't imagine what it was like to be surprised with baby number 5.
Yeah. And the number 4 was only 6 months old. And so, all my kids are in a 6-year window. So they're pretty like boom, boom, boom. So my oldest she had just started kindergarten. So I think she had just turned 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a 5-year-old, and then I had a 2-year-old, no, a 1-year-old, 6-month-old. I can't remember everybody's ages. Let's just say they were super. And I have those pregnancies where you're just sick the entire time, like the whole time. And so it was miserable. We're all trapped at home and I can't take him anywhere. I don't feel good. And because we were adding another kid, we had to move because we didn't have enough space in our house. So buying and selling a house, and that essentially what I did to cope with all of those feelings that I was having.
Mm-hmm.
As a good dietitian, I ate carrots and celery. Just kidding. I ate cookie dough. I ate my feelings almost every single night.
And you know what they say at the doctor's office? They're like, no chocolate. Don't eat this. Don't eat. I'm like, can you just let us eat whatever we want? We're in our feelings at this moment. And it's a lot of hormone changes, especially after you have the baby too. It's a lot of hormone changes. So I totally get it. I like cookie dough, by the way.
It's like my kryptonite. And I remember this one weekend, I think it was after I had my baby. My son was 2 months old and my husband's father passed away, and I had to stay with like all the kids by myself for the weekend while he handled stuff. And I remember I went through like a whole tub that weekend because I was just like,
Overwhelmed.
I'm overwhelmed and this is how I'm coping, right?
Mm-hmm.
So needless to say, I gained about twice as much weight with baby number 5 than I did with my previous 2 pregnancies.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, it's okay. I'll just do what I've always done to bounce back like I did when I was in my 20s. And guess what? It's different when you're in your 30s.
It is different. Like, I don't know what happened with the, 20s. Of course, you're like alive and you're free and you don't have to really worry about too much. But in your 30s, you start thinking and you start realizing is it life, or is I'm just in my 30s, or what is happening? Because I'm in that season right now where I'm like in my mid 30s and I'm like, am I living or am I existing? And the difference between the weight that I had in my 20s and the weight that I had in my 30s are completely different. It's like day and night, and I don't understand it. It's weird because when people come up to you and say, "Hey, you lost a lot of weight," and I'm like, "Girl, I haven't even checked my weight since I was in my 20s. I mean, the last time I checked my weight, throwing it out there, was I'm like 176. And I was 176 when I was pregnant with my daughter. So I was like, I don't see the weight loss, but other people do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is different. And I remember, I had this point where I was at the hospital to deliver the baby. So he was like still in me and they like have you get on the scale and whatever.
Hmm.
And I like looked at it and I was like, that's so much more than the previous ones. But it's okay, right? Like,
Right.
I took responsibility for the way that I was coping, right? And I was like, I'll deal with it after the baby. We're in a
Hmm.
pandemic. Like, it's just, I can't handle this right now. So I remember though, I was like, I'll breastfeed. I'll, get back into being active and then the weight will come off like it had the previous two times. And I remember I weighed myself like he was 2 months and it had gone down by like 20 pounds. And I was like, okay, I've lost,
I like it.
10 pounds a month, like that's pretty good. And
Right.
then I was like, wait a minute, that kid weighed 8 pounds. And then you start Googling, how much does placenta weigh? And then you're like, how much fluid is in there?
Yeah.
And then I'm going down this, and then I realized I'm the same. I haven't lost anything. So I was like, I'm just gonna ignore it. Whatever, it's okay. I'm breastfeeding. It's supposed to fall off when you're breastfeeding, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Breastfeeding. Fast forward another several months. I think I was about 6 months postpartum and I weighed myself again and nothing. And I was just like, okay. So then I started to panic
Oh no,
because
don't panic. Don't
yeah,
panic.
you're at this place where you're like, hey, like if I don't do something about this,
Hmm.
what's it going to be like in 10 years?
Hmm.
What's it going to be like, when I'm 60? If I continue on this trajectory. Um, So I started doing like all the stuff that I had done before, and I managed to get a little bit off, but I still didn't feel good. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I may have been losing weight, but it felt like every single pound was like a struggle to get off. And um, I still didn't feel that like energetic or good. And it was all hanging around my midsection still. So I would lose it in my legs, but that's not my problem area. And I started kind of desperately trying a bunch of different diets. Like I tried intermittent fasting.
I heard that was a good one, the intermittent fasting.
I think probably there's a lot of things that determine whether or not it'll work for you. In fact, I know that.
Hmm.
Didn't I got up to 3 24-hour fasts a week and I still would not lose weight. And I was like, I mean, what's the deal with this? I'm not eating, you
Hmm.
know? And so then let me see, it was my son was about 18 months old because he was playing in the bathtub one day and I was on Pinterest and I was like scrolling
Hmm.
through. I've been doing like walking more and running, trying to get back into running. I'd done distance running for years. So I was like, maybe this will help, trying the fasting. My husband finally was like, how long are you going to do this fasting thing? Because you are not nice. And, so I mean, it's like 5 kids under the age of, I don't know how old they were, 7.
Hmm.
And I'm not eating.
And then you're not eating, and then he's like,
You're
"That's not
mean.
good. What's going on?"
Yeah. And so anyway, I was scrolling through Pinterest and I see this picture of this girl in like a sparkly bikini. I was like, she was on a stage and I was like, what is this? Because it was weird to my brain because she wasn't on a beach. And I like clicked on the pin and she was a bikini bodybuilder. And so I'm like, what is this like? She was talking about the how she was amazing looking, like super toned, lean, but like had muscle, like not like Arnold Schwarzenegger muscle, but like she was very
She was
clearly
very toned.
she was toned and she looked fantastic. And I was like, what's she doing? So I'm like reading about, and then I'm reading about all the strength training that she does. And
Okay.
I was like, it was this mind blown moment where I was like, wait a minute. Like, I thought if you wanted to look like that, you needed to run for hours and hours or do the elliptical for hours and hours and just do
Hmm.
tons of cardio. But what she was saying is she looked like that through strength training. And I was like,
Oh, okay.
what is this? So I did a deep dive into strength training and how they do these bulks and cuts to gain muscle and lose the fat and like this whole it opened my eyes to kind of this whole new world and I adapted that to
Hmm.
my life. and it started working. The weight was coming off in the right spots. I won't say it's like, oh, it's going to handle this little bit of armpit fat right there. No, but it was working. And the cool thing was that I was feeling so good. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah. And so that is what started this whole journey, was me discovering how, if I want to be toned, if I want to be strong, then I need to train like the people that do that the best. And so, and then patterning that my life after that. And I'm still doing it years later and
That is
helping.
awesome. All over a Pinterest. Shout out to Pinterest because I like Pinterest too. I'll be having all types of boards. I don't want to tell my secret over here, but I do like Pinterest a lot. I tend to get all like my little meals. Luckily, since we do have TikTok a little bit more, I've learned how to cook a little bit more through TikTok, but I'm not going to
Good.
share, not sharing that secret either. But I'm just saying Pinterest and TikTok are really cool. So, what does your fitness days look like? Like when you're fitting with the kids and everything? I know it's back to school coming up in the next month or so. I'm counting down the days. It's 27. I'm ready for the kids to go back to school. I love them dearly, but they have drove me crazy this summer. So, counting down the days, 27. So, what are some good fitness things that you can do with the kids? I think that's very interesting. I want to start doing that a little bit more.
Well, so in terms of with the kids, I don't work out with my kids.
You don't?
No, I don't. So one thing that I teach my students and my clients that are in my program, they can work out with their kids if they want to. But
Mm-hmm.
the way that I approach it is, this is a form of self-care for me. And it is something that I need to do to keep my body and my mind healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be able to focus on that. I teach really like efficient, quick workouts
Mm-hmm.
to be completed like totally within 1 hour, like going to the gym,
Mm-hmm.
doing the doing the rolling out, doing all the glute activation stuff that I have my students do, doing the whole workout, all of it, you're in and out in an hour. Most of my clients are in and out in 45 minutes or less. And I really for me, because
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to keep it as a appointment with myself, I have to have it like to be structured like that in my calendar. So
Okay.
if I'm trying to squeeze it in the cracks of my day with the kids all around
Mm-hmm.
distracting me, or at home, which you can totally work out at home and it'll be fine. But when I work out at home, what happens to me is I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to put that little laundry in. Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot.
Because
Instead
it
of,
becomes a distraction instead of
yes,
going to the gym. And I used to be like, I used to go to the gym, but I think what happened is I stopped going because I felt like I didn't have like an accountability partner with me, so to speak, because I felt like I was like doing this by myself. And
yeah,
so it's kind of hard when you go to the gym and you're going into like, let's say, for example, a class, and you're like, okay, you don't know anybody here. And you're like, it's kind of like going to school for the first time and you're meeting everybody. And so I
yeah.
thought that was really interesting for myself. So I did start doing that at home, but then I kind of slacked off and started eating cookie dough and all the junk that I don't need to start eating. But I still don't understand where everybody keeps saying, hey, you're losing the weight. And I'm like, do I take it as a compliment? Or are you just trying to dig at me saying that I need to lose weight? I get between, hey, you lose weight and hey, are you pregnant? Pretty much every month.
That, those are quite different.
Quite different. And then I get the, oh, let me touch your belly because you're pregnant. And I'm like, I'm not pregnant. I like to eat. And I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes that's a little, what's the word, defensive, so to speak, when you come up to somebody and you're just like, oh, hey, girl, you lost the weight. And I'm like, but I walk a lot, but that's just about it.
Well, and you never know, like it could be that somebody has like an illness that caused weight loss, or, like
Yeah.
sometimes weight loss isn't a good thing. So, yeah, I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, it happens often, but then I'm like, okay, well, if you're saying I'm losing weight from the last time you saw me, I'm like, do I need to go to the doctor and look at something that you see that I don't see? But sometimes I'd be like, let me just take it as a compliment and move on. And then I'll share it with my spouse later on. I'm like, hey, this is a little bit uncomfortable, but I really wish people would stop asking if I'm either pregnant or, hey, you lost weight. Cause it bothers me at night. And then I'm like, well, maybe I just need to start moving around on Saturdays a little bit more. But I work from home. So it's kind of like I go from one room to the other room. And by the time I get off of work, I'm exhausted. With working from home, I wish there was more of a life balance with work. But of course, they all say it's just for business needs. So you don't get that life outside of work sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a hard thing. And that's another reason, because I work from home as well. That's another reason why, for me, it's important for me to go to the gym. It just creates this appointment like status
Hmm.
to my workouts. And I'm not saying like I don't go to the gym every day. I'm not saying that. And my students, most of the time, it's twice a week or 3 times a week for the really ambitious ones. So it's not this like giant time commitment thing.
Hmm.
But I find that if I can get them there regularly and they bring it up to like appointment status, right? Like
Right.
if you had a doctor appointment or your kids had violin lessons or they had soccer, whatever, you go to those things because they're an appointment, right?
Right.
And so that's one of the ways that I kind of help create that accountability for my students
Hmm.
is to have it there. And then the other thing I do is I have them plan it into the week ahead of time. When are you going to work out this week?
Oh, I like that because then it gives you the accountability on yourself to say, hey, when are you going to go to the gym? And if you haven't gone to the gym that week, then you're kind of slacking on yourself. And then that
Yeah.
kind of creates like a ball, like a effect afterwards.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I like that.
Yeah. Well, and it also allows you to be realistic about where your time is going. So, one of the big things that I teach in my program is like making sure that the things that we say we
Hmm.
want to move the needle on, be it in whatever, our fitness, our business, or whatever, that we are actually designating time in our week for those things to
Hmm.
move the needle, to have progress. Because a lot of times, what women will come to me saying is they'll say, oh, I just don't have time to work out. I'm too busy. I don't have time.
Hmm.
And realistically, we need to think about where is our time going? Because if you say that your health is so important to you and yet your actions are not aligning with that, then there's a discrepancy there and we need to rectify that.
I like that too because it's like you could say there's 24 hours in a day. And not everybody, I feel like sometimes us as women, we get a little bit timid on saying like, hey, we put all our time and everything else in work and home, but when is the time we put that self-care into ourselves a little bit more? And I feel like working out is something that can either help you mentally, but not only physically, because sometimes you could be going through that mentally. And I've noticed a lot of women are working out more and more for their mental because it ends up giving them either reducing their stress or reducing maybe gaining their happiness back in reference to what they didn't have 10, 15 years ago. So I do like that.
Well, and it's scientifically that is been shown when you strength train or
Hmm.
exercise. I looked into this recently, particularly towards strength training because that's what I teach. But
Hmm.
when you train, your body releases cortisol, which is your stress hormone, because you
Hmm.
are lifting heavy things and you're exerting yourself. That's like natural and normal, right?
Hmm.
People are afraid of cortisol like as if it's bad. It's got a natural function and you need that. So, but what it does is it teaches your body how to handle cortisol better because you are doing this over and over and your body is learning and
Oh.
practicing how to handle cortisol. And so, what they found in the research is that people who strength train actually have lower baseline cortisol levels because they're able to learn how to process it properly through the strength training. And so that was something I did some research on recently that I thought was so interesting because it aligned with the way that I've been using it. I had a really, really stressful period of my life with my kids.
Hmm.
Oldest son had a undiagnosed illness
Hmm.
and he had it for about 9 months and he wasn't, well, kids, if something hurts, they're not
Right.
going to say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm really grouchy because my stomach hurts really bad. They don't do that.
They're not gonna. They're still trying to understand their feelings. I get that. So
Yes.
I totally understand that.
Yeah. So he had a very severe illness that he wasn't verbalizing that he was in pain. It was coming out as behavior. And in school, I mean, I'm talking, I was
Mhm.
like, me and the principal were like all the time. It's it was bad. And we had 6 kids at the time. We were fostering one of my adopted son's little sisters. So we had a
Mhm.
baby. So 5 kids, range 9 to 6 months. Um, or 6 kids, excuse me. And it was, I mean, we didn't find his illness. We didn't figure it out until he stopped eating. And he was just, and I was like, what is happening to you? And so I took him to the doctor. I was like, I don't have any reason for, but he stopped eating and he has been,
Right.
and anyway, long story short, turns out he had a very serious stomach infection for about 9 months.
No.
Yeah, that was causing him a lot of pain. And that's so anyway, it was extremely stressful. And let me tell you, the thing that got me through that,
Hmm.
strength training, Jesus.
And I'm sorry that you went through that. Like, to not know that for 9 months, and then you're just like, probably went to multiple doctor visits, probably trying to figure out is it something wrong at school, and
Well,
then
because they
that's
thought it
stressful.
was behavior. They sent us like we got an appointment with a behavior doctor and like because the how he was expressing it was defiance, you know, running away. Whatever.
Mm.
It wasn't until it got so bad that he finally started having physical symptoms
Hmm.
that I put it together and I was like, oh my gosh, he's been like
This is it. Yeah.
because it was a very sudden I remember the week so clearly when it started. And that must have been when he originally got it because he went from a challenging kid to
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
and I just, you're thinking behavior wise and you're just thinking, okay, what behavior based strategies do we need to be doing to help him?
Hmm.
It was physical. So,
That's insane. I couldn't even imagine just trying to figure it all out with my daughter, like a stomach infection for 9 months. And of course, children, they don't really come up to you and say, like, hey, my stomach is hurting or I have a fever. It's kind of like we know on the top of our head, like, hey, something's wrong, but we can't really figure it out just yet until you kind of put that puzzle piece together, so to speak.
yes, yes.
And so I'm glad. Is he feeling better?
Yeah, they got him on medicine and it was like a different
Yay.
kid. It was crazy. I mean, there's still, we won't go down this rabbit hole because the infection was so long.
Hmm.
Like I feel like he kept some behaviors just because they were learned for so long in his brain, like how he reacted to things and whatever. But for the most part, it has been night and day, so much better.
I'm glad. That makes me happy to hear that because like I stated, I couldn't imagine what you went through. And of course, you said Jesus and working out helped you mentally. So I'm glad that helped you mentally because I know that could have been tough on you, probably crying at night, or you're talking to your husband trying to figure all this out, and that could have been stressful enough on you. So I'm
Well,
glad.
the weight of and we all go through things, right?
Hmm.
But when that you get like a designated time, and even if it's just 20 minutes, like I'll tell my clients, like if you're cut short on time because of whatever reason, like something came up, like just do the first set, do the first 2 sets.
Hmm.
And it's working out in your body, like
Yeah.
something really hard or lifting something really hard and just getting out of your brain for a second and focusing on your body, that was so helpful for me.
I like that. So I want to talk about a couple things. I know you're building a brand and you're servicing other women in reference to your brand. And I want to get into that a little bit before we talk about some tips for back to school season, because I know it's almost here and it's very chaotic. So I want to get into a little bit about your brand. And let's talk about that because your story is very interesting. And I'm glad you're taking the time to visit with me today with the podcast.
Oh, of course. Of course.
What is the name of your brand first and foremost?
So, my business is called Effective Fitness for Women, and I help moms learn how to strength train to lose fat. I have a podcast. It's called Effective Weight Loss for Moms, and I give all sorts of tips and advice, and all the things that I talk about on that podcast are all super practical because I myself have had to really learn how to use my time very efficiently because I do
Hmm.
have 5 kids. And I run a business And so anyway, I just share my knowledge on there. And I've had a lot of women reach out to me, especially moms with large families. And I think it's been
Hmm.
an encouragement to them that they too can have a healthy lifestyle
Hmm.
even if they have a lot of kids. So it's been such a blessing.
I think that's pretty cool. A lot of people don't have, I've been seeing a lot of different, maybe like on YouTube, like fitness and yoga and stuff. I did start doing that from YouTube, but I want to do like more working out. Like I'd go back into Pilates and things like that because I think that's really fun. A lot of moms don't really know about Pilates, but I like your idea. Maybe I need to try that a little bit of the strength training and see how that will work out. Because I notice myself is I get tired like towards like about 3 o'clock all the way till maybe about an hour, maybe about 4. And I noticed that because I'm like I'm in training at work, and so you're just sitting listening to somebody talk all day, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to get to like the calls and listening to the members and stuff. So I like your podcast. I'm for sure going to check that out first and foremost. And then, secondly, since, like I stated, we're in the season of back to school, what are some tips for some moms that they can get into? Since you are a dietitian and a coach here, that they can learn about for this season, this winter season that's coming.
Yeah. Back to school, actually, that reminds me I usually do like a back to school series. So
Ooh, okay.
go and listen to August of last year's series on back to school. I think it
Okay.
was on meal planning. But the first
Okay.
thing with back to school is it always catches us off guard. And
Mm-hmm.
we're like, oh my gosh, what happened? I have to have school supplies and I have to have whatever, the breakfast in the morning and the packing the lunches and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. We get overwhelmed and we're rushing like that week that they go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I like to remember is it's predictable. It happens every year.
I'm like that now because I was like, I said, oh man, I was like, it's back to school already. I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta get clothes and shoes and I'm like supplies. And I'm like, how am I gonna get all of this done with school starting? It's a lot on a mom. And shout out to all of us because we take on a lot all the time, and sometimes
Yeah.
we need a break.
It is true, but there's a lot to say for planning when you know what's going to happen, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's things that we can't plan for, right? Like kids' illnesses and blah, blah, blah. But a lot of times we just don't look far enough ahead. Like, hey, like what is coming up, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to help ourselves make our lives a little bit easier because so much does fall on us.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite strategies, and I utilize this, and I teach my students to do it, is if you're well, let's just say you're starting out, okay? School's coming up.
Okay.
Make like a meal plan, like
Mm-hmm.
for and write down everything that you need to have for that. That's one of the big things I teach is meal planning because a lot of times we do it in an incomplete way.
Mm-hmm.
And then we forget things and we forgot to plan for snacks. And then we're running to the
Yeah.
store 5 times a week. I mean, I remember this one time, and I was an actual dietitian at this time, planning my grocery list at a stoplight on the way to the grocery store after work. Like, I'm like,
That happened to me last week. I was like, I'm at here, and my husband was like, "Hey, what do we need to do?" And I was like, "I haven't even made a grocery list yet, but I guess since we're on our way to the store," he's like, "That's not right. You got to plan ahead." And I'm like, "Look, I'm working throughout the week. You could be doing some of this prepping for the grocery list while you sitting up there playing a game. You could be doing this for me while I'm sitting up here at work for right now." But men, they think it's a girl's thing to do with the groceries.
well, we have to train them differently. So
That
one
is
of the
true.
things that works really well for us, for me and my husband, is every day on Saturday, every day, every week on Saturday, we do what's called a Saturday sync, and we write down like in our week in our planners when we're doing the things that we want to move the needle on. So I know
Mm-hmm.
I know I need to clean whatever it is that's in my cleaning rotation for that week. I know that I need to exercise. For me, one of the essential things that I prioritize in my life is my faith. And so I need
Mm-hmm.
to have time to do some scripture reading or meditation or stuff like that. I have things that are my number one.
Okay.
We sit down on Saturday on the weekend and we plan out those things for the upcoming week. It allows us to be on the same page. It allows us to figure out, okay, well, I can't do this week, so you have to do it, because of the the way the schedule is. And that has worked really well to make sure that the week flows well. We execute our week well. And at the end of the week, we've done the things that matter the most to us.
I like that.
Yeah. But I do have to say, because of the number of kids we've had, what this means is our family doesn't get to do as many extras as most other families
Mm-hmm.
because I value my mental health. I value my sanity. I can't be taking, kids to baseball and soccer and all driving them around and all that stuff. I don't have the time for it. And we have to focus on the essentials first. Now, as they get older, we will start to make time for those things. But right now, it's basically I had to learn to say no to some things so I could say yes to what mattered the most to me.
I like that you said that you have to say no to some things to say yes. And I've noticed with a lot of entrepreneurs and moms that I have met throughout the course of this podcast that I've done is that a lot of moms are learning to start saying no and have a little bit more pushback in reference to their mental health and what their mental health stand for. So I really do appreciate that you stated that because most importantly, our mental health does need to come first a little bit more. Not saying that men's mental health doesn't need to come first, but I do believe that when your cup is full in reference to your mental health, everything moves really slowly. Not slowly, but it moves in a more of a pattern of healthiness for you.
Exactly. You know, I've thought about this a lot because the things that I am doing as a wife and as a mom are going to show my kids the role of a wife and a mother. And
Mm-hmm.
that is where they're going to get what that looks like to go into their own marriages when they're adults. And so if I'm modeling that as a wife and a mom, I run around all day like a chicken with my head cut off and I don't make time for the things that are the most important to me, I'm modeling that to my children.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I don't want to model that. I want my daughter to see that my mom is strong. My mom takes the time, to cook meals. That's not
Mm-hmm.
always, I'm not trying to put on like judgment or whatever, but
No, you're
the
fine.
like these things are important to my mom and she's doing it. And you know what? It's so funny. She's like so excited to turn 13. She's only 10, but she's excited to be 13 because then she can actually come in the weight room with me because she sees,
She sees that you're working out.
yeah, we lift weights. That's what we do as women.
Mm-hmm.
We're strong. And I just love that she's seeing that and I want to be an example of kind of a balanced life. You've got the balanced mom boss, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
what balance looks like for moms, prioritizing their mental health, prioritizing their physical health,
Mm-hmm.
and doing it and that helping them to take care of their families well. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yep. You can't pour from an empty cup. Now, I do want to, before we wrap up for our podcast today, I do have a little game that we can play a little bit. Whatever comes to mind, we just say it. No judgment here. I'm just so excited for you to be here. So, the first thing I want to say is coffee or smoothie?
So definitely coffee. 100%.
You know what? Everybody's been saying coffee lately. And I'm like, what is with the coffee? I mean, I drink a caramel macchiato with like espresso and 2 shots of vanilla and caramel syrup, which is not a good thing for me, Starbucks. But shout out to Starbucks. I do like you guys. So if you hear this, thank you. But caramel macchiatos are they're just like my thing. If I'm not having that, it's pasta. I like pasta. Pasta's my favorite thing. Uh,
Hosta's
Pasta is good. I learned how to make from TikTok. I learned how to make a 3 cheese pasta. And ever since then, now the whole household likes the 3 cheese. I said, this was supposed to be for me, not for you guys. Now everybody's like, hey, can I have the 3 cheese pasta once a week? And I'm like, oh. And so now I've added into my pasta like a little sausage, cottage cheese, and stuff like that. Now they're like, you made this excellent. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? So that's the new favorite in the household besides a caramel macchiato. And now my daughter is starting to like Starbucks. The other day we went to the store and she says, Mom, I want Starbucks. I said, huh? You want what? Excuse me? What do you want? That's not I've never heard you like Starbucks. She's like, yeah, because of you. You like your caramel macchiato. And I said, oh, we're starting at the age of 7. We're starting. And so we went to Starbucks for the first time for her. She was so excited. I said, all right, you can't have coffee because that's not what we're going to do today. But what would you like? This girl went through the whole menu and asked, finally, after 10, 15 minutes, she's like, can I have a summerberry refresher lemonade, please? And the little lady was like, you got a handful. I said, yeah, she's going to be a handful. So when she got her drink, she said, oh my goodness, it's Starbucks and it's so good. And I was like, oh, you're going to be a handful in high school for me?
Oh,
I said, but I love you and let's have some Starbucks and let's just go home after we get our groceries. She's like, okay, this is awesome, Mom. I love you. So I try to take her out as much as I can because lately like I said, I'm in training at work and she's been telling me like I work too much and that's been killing me lately. So I try to do once a week, have like a movie night or just go out and we walk or something and just go to the mailbox and stuff. So I try to do that.
that. I love.
My next question would be, what is your favorite 10-minute workout?
If I only had 10 minutes, I would probably do some body weight. And I've done this before, like on vacation, body weight squats, push-ups, and hip thrusts, just to hit the big major muscle groups super fast, do maybe 2 or 3 rounds of that, and then be done.
I like that. What's one word that describes your parenting style?
Gentle-ish.
I like that word. I haven't heard, well, I've heard of that word. I would have to describe myself as loving. Sometimes you have to love. You got to spread the love, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I guess I thought you were talking about like, like gentle parenting or
Yes,
authority.
yes, yes. That's what I was talking. I actually is a not to go off a tangent, but there is a documentary. Was it a documentary or was it a TV show? I think it was a TV show on ABC. They were talking about the different, I don't know if you've seen it, but they talk about the different styles of parenting. And it ranged from gentle parenting to strict parenting. I got to find the name for it and send it to you. But it was so an eye opener to see how different parents parent in reference to their parenting style. And once I learned the different steps of the parenting style, I said, yeah, I'm a gentle parent. This is weird.
Yeah.
You know,
So I'm like, ish. I can pull some strict out if I need to.
if you need to, you have to put the strict out. The strict rules are out. My last question for you, what is a self-care ritual that you would swear by?
I would have to say going to the gym or lifting weights, doing that is just one of my favorite things to do. And I can't believe I'm saying that because it's like I used to think that exercise was such a chore. I didn't like it. I did it, but I was like, and I'm one of those people now that actually likes working out. Turns out I was just doing the wrong stuff.
See, and when you find the love into something versus like thinking it's a chore, it's a whole different meaning in reference to what you do. Now, for me, for exercises, need an accountability partner and I need to figure out how to get that back to myself. But I think
I
exercise,
got you. If you need help, I got you.
I have to, it's time. I need to start doing, I used to walk. We have a beautiful pond over here by my house. And normally we take our dog to the dog park and just, kind of like throw the ball and, have him exercise. But I need to get back to like walking on Saturday mornings, like bright and early and just walk and just have a good time or get back to running. I used to run a long time ago and now I just slacked off. So I think I need an accountability partner on my end. Now, where we're going to wrap up, I want to thank you for being on this podcast for me and having your heart and your hustle and honesty for today. Can you tell people where we can find you?
Yeah, so I would love if you would listen to my podcast. It's called Effective Weight Loss for Moms. You can listen to it on all the main podcast platforms, wherever you listen to podcasts. And I am also on Instagram newly. I just started. I'm not a social media person, but I wanted to have some ways to connect with my audience. And so that's Effective Fitness for Women. And that's where you can connect with me.
I'm telling you, you got to try TikTok. That's their secret. But I do appreciate you being on here for today's episode. I do want to remind moms out there that balance is possible, whether you're a mom or not. Until next time, keep showing up, chasing your purpose, and keep chasing your dreams. Bye, guys.